old wise person. An old wise person knows that he or she does not know everything. So their minds are always open to listening to new things. A senior citizen, an old person is just old. And they think they know everything. So the ones that often you run into who act like that are those who think they know everything. And they don't learn anything. They're not willing to listen. And that's not an elder. That's an old fool. And there are some of them out there. Yeah, we have. But we know. I probably know more than I know. So I want to clarify, there are a lot of brothers and sisters that I come in contact with on a daily basis that open the door for young people to take charge. And we know that we have to listen. And I'm honored to be sitting next to this brother right here. My ears are wide open, and I've cleaned all the wax out of it, so I can hear it. I can hear and understand what's being said. And I've learned a lot, and I respect them, totally respect them. Don't you think I respect them?
Okay, so Ross, I have a question for you. Do you believe we can all coexist together? And I have another question as well. If so, would you be comfortable with a younger person, let's say 20 to 25, in a leadership position?
So I am comfortable with this coming together across generations. I think it's not only important, but it's necessary. We're going to see the kind of change we need in this country. And I'm comfortable with leadership that is decades younger than me and that can move the struggle forward. I'm very comfortable with that. And I think we as elders, I so much love, Brother Parker, your disaggregation of us old people. You got the senior citizens and you got elders. I really appreciate that. I think that we build this movement together, that we learn from each other, and that we are open to lessons, practices of each generation, and we honor them. I think that's real important. There's one thing I do want to say. I think that there is this ageism. I think that there are a lot of people who hold up the quote glory days. I don't, we've had some successes. I'm not yet saying we've got a glory days. I think we all got to keep working, right? But I think that exists, and I think that that folks like me in that generation that don't agree with that have to call people on that and check them on that. And I think young people have to also check them. And I think it's important for people to raise their voices and say respectfully.
Thank Freedom Bound for inviting me, especially Nefertiti Jackman and my young sister Destiny Cannon and Marcus Smith, brother Dr. Cedric Smith. Are you related? Or is it just same plantation? So I've been asked to talk about the movement then and now. And I'm just glad to know that as we discuss this, that the organization that invited me is calling itself Freedom Now, Freedom Bound, because the word freedom has been lost somewhere in the last 30, 40 years. We talk about African American success stories or something, I don't know, some kind of empty magazine language, and we don't talk about freedom and that there's a need for freedom and there's an ongoing struggle. So when we talk about then and now, I just want to say that Huey P. Newton, who was of course the guiding genius of the Black Panther Party and the co-founder, he stated that the Black Panther Party started in 1607 when the English invaded and created their so-called colony called Jamestown after they wiped out, let us not forget, the entire Powhatan Confederacy, including Pocahontas' daddy and everybody else that she knew and that she was a part of. And so we say that the beginning of the Black Panther Party was the beginning of our struggle as African people for freedom, and that we recognize that as a part of that includes those Africans who were in constant struggle to resist European captivity and enslavement during the entire Atlantic slave trade and the brutal Atlantic slave trade. So when we look at it from that perspective, when we talk about then and now, we have to know what then is. Then is that ongoing long struggle that started a very, very long time ago. It wasn't in the 60s, although we like to think we made an imprint that was certainly lasting and significant, and we'll talk about that. There's no real record of the resistance and slavery during the 250 years of slavery in this country, the most barbaric institution of slavery or of any kind probably ever instituted in the history of humankind that we know. But we know there were some stunning efforts that were sort of in the later part of the slave period before 1865. You know, we had the rebellions led by Nat Turner, by Denmark Vesey, and also the call, of course, I like to quote David Walker's call to arms coming out of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. But we know that we did fight for freedom, you know, and we know there's a record that we resisted, and if nothing else, we survived, which is really almost unbelievable when you consider the magnitude of what happened to us. Unlike almost every other colonized and enslaved people, we were stripped of every vestige of our history and our humanity. We don't know one of the things I'm personally most offended by is we don't have a language. This is not our language, this is English. Anyone in Spanish is the language of Latinos or whatever. These are the language of our colonizers and oppressors. But we don't have a language, where's my song, my dance, my flag, my country, my land? We were stripped of everything, including our ability to even have the opportunity to control any part of our lives or our futures, our bodies, and our relationships with each other. We had no control for 250 years, inculcated and institutionalized in this country. So we know that we had to be pretty bad to survive to 1865 in the first place, and even to today. So we're some of the strongest people. You know, there was an argument about questions of superiority, and there was a guy named Jimmy the Greek who once said that the reason black men could win all these foot races
this document, we had clinics around the country. This one here happened from Berkeley, California.
Nice.
And this was an article they did on our school. And we had got people on the school board. That's Erica Huggins there. She was head of the school.
Okay. Awesome. So I have a question for you. I was talking about, you know, the Black Panther movement with some of my friends on Facebook, and one of my best friends, her mom, she said the Black Panthers were basically put in place to protect black people against lynchings and things like that, and to develop our own communities and, you know, things to get stuff into our community like food and childcare and things like that. So what organizations do you feel are in place today to protect us, and do you think those organizations are doing what they're supposed to?
One of the closest to that, first of all, I was going to say that the Black Panther Party, the original name of the Black Panther Party was the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. That's what it was. We had the right to defend ourselves, defend our community, defend our homes. Later on, we dropped the self-defense, and it was just called the Black Panther Party. We felt we were a political party, not like the Democrats or Republicans. We felt politics affects everything about the daily life. I think one of the closest that women is a Black Lives Matter. It's young people, and the thing about it, they're about action. They're not about what you talk. And that's what we were about. You know, we made a lot of mistakes. We were young. I joined the party at 19 years old. We had some members who were 16, 17 years old. Hugh Newton was 25 when he founded the party. I think Rob was 30. So we were young, we made mistakes, but we moved. We didn't just sit around. Black Mass Movement, I think that's what it's about. And it's a bunch of young people. And that's why it's an honor. Just like you said, you're young. I mean, you honor me by doing what you're doing. It makes us feel that we didn't waste our time.
Yes,
You know?
yes,
I
definitely.
appreciate you. I appreciate all the people.
Thank you.